Hello and welcome to episode 530 of the Awesome Comics Podcast, the place where the small press makes one hell of a big noise. My name is Vince Hunt, and joining me as always is an artist and a creator of the wonderful world of Vanguard and Viper. It's Daniel Butcher.
Hello.
Who's feeling a bit better this week, aren't you, Dan?
Yes, I was kind of...
Not completely better though, are you?
Yeah.
No, not 100%.
Lots more vitamin D. You got more
taking large amounts of D.
We need some BDE.
Yeah. And as someone who always brings the D is
Tony
Esmond.
Hello.
Hello, Tony. And also joining us this week is the amazing artist from Tony Osmond is a Movie Star, and friend of the show, returning again, is the wonderful Cliff Cumber.
Right, yeah, sorry, it's not Tom Curry. I apologise. I know you're all expecting him, and I'm a profound disappointment, but thank you. Yes, hello, lads. How are you?
Twice his age, double experience.
Half his height. I don't know. It's something like that.
You're half nobody's height, my friend.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, Tom would have to be. How tall would Tom have to be in order for Cliff to be
12 foot? Yeah, 13 foot he'd have to be.
1.5 Tom Currys. I think that's
wow.
We measured.
Yeah, so it's going to be a bit of a mental one this week, I think, because we were chatting before the show, and everyone's me and Tony are a little bit tired, and Dan's obviously recovering, so it could get spicy. And Cliff's here, so it's going to get even spicier.
Sexual energy's up.
What?
The sexual energy's up.
Any other episode that you've ever had, they're all spicy. Terribly spicy.
Yeah.
Very. Lots of energon or whatever.
Energon?
Is that what they're calling it now?
Okay, I panicked. I had to come up with a word.
That works.
I'm not promising quality here. I'm just... Yeah. But
it's very in line with the show.
Look, none of our guests or friends of the show should ever panic when they're on this show, unless we're planning to surprise them with something.
Oh, yeah.
Well, have we had any one panic? I don't think we've ever had a panic.
No. Which is amazing.
The reason we've got Cliff on here is we're not going to do this.
I thought
what's happening?
What's happening? We didn't discuss this.
What is this giant book that you're giving me?
Yeah. Here are all your ex-girlfriends.
It's all nudes and ex-girlfriends.
They're not even yours.
Dear.
This week could indeed be revelatory. I had to think about that word before I said it there.
See, it's hard coming up with words.
It is.
Chat GPT now, don't they? The kids, they do that.
Don't upset me.
As soon as we can get this show pumping out Chat GTP, we're fine, aren't we? Just put it on every week.
Who knows? Might be that now.
Wow. God.
Comics.
We're the first people to get. We're the first people to get Chat GPT cancelled.
But there's going to be no.
That...
Go on, Dan.
Go on.
Yeah.
No, I was going to talk ChatGPT. All that stuff where they upgraded the engine, and people were complaining it wasn't as friendly, and they're like,
right.
Relationship.
Well, they turn it female.
Mate, please.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, I think they'd had a relationship with ChatGTP.
I need to think whether to cut that bit out now.
Keep it in.
Yeah, keep it in.
It was satire.
That's what Dan always says. Like, fucking hell, it's already off the rails.
Just showing off in front of Cliff.
Yeah, we are just showing off. We're just excited. And this week we've got a few different topics. Got some questions, and Dan thought of quite an interesting topic that's going to kick us off this week. But
wasn't me.
What do you mean?
It was our friend Tom Brevoort.
Oh, is it from his mailer? Was it?
Yes.
Wow.
Oh, right.
So Dan, you could have taken credit for that.
I wouldn't want to take credit.
Never take credit for anything Tom Brevoort does.
Wow.
How dare you?
Wow. Tom, if you're listening, why? Anyway,
the invite's always open. Come on the show, Tom.
Yeah.
No, it fucking ain't.
No, we'll message you privately. Anyway, no. So we've got some interesting questions as well. Think back a few weeks when I threw some questions at the guys, and then they threw one back at me, which led to I'm not. There's not going to be a deep revelation about me this week that I know of.
You say that now.
Yeah, well, I say that now. Yeah, you really don't know what you get when you when I press record on this fucking show. But of course, it will always be about comics. And in terms of comics, let's just start off with this before we get into just a general. This is a softball of a question. This one before we jump into Dan's little topic. How are we feeling, just in general? How are we feeling about the comics we're reading this August as we're recording? This is Sunday, the 24th of August, as we're recording. There you go. There's some behind the scenes for you. But this past month, rather than just this week, this general month, what is this? Because it has been the summer of comics. What's it been like for you all?
Why do you say it's been the summer of comics? Just so we're clear.
I don't know. Because we've said it. We've said a couple of times in the show. It's the summer of comics.
I suppose it is technically the summer of Superman.
That's the only reason I've said it. I haven't thought about movies. I haven't thought of anything else. We mentioned it a couple of times in the show in past weeks, so I'm just bringing it back.
Okay.
Summer of Superman. I guess I don't know.
It is. That's what they're saying at DC.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. I said I don't know.
Why is that?
Too much about that.
Anyway, comics this month. How were they?
Every day's an emotional roller coaster for me around comics.
Yeah.
I've read some really great stuff today, and I've read a couple of I read a certain comic. I won't mention the run because I've got hope that it's only the first issue of a 4-issue miniseries that's come back. I'm hoping it's going to improve, but the first issue was basically about them going to the shops, and I'm like, come on.
It wasn't an X-Men title, was it?
Surprisingly not. Yeah, I mean that would be a major event in the X universe, I think, at the moment.
What is the big event at the moment going on in Marvel?
If you give me 5 minutes, I'll dig out the new comics bundle I bought today because there's a new X-Men thing. And I can't think of the name of it.
Right.
No,
is it the Age of Revelation?
Every week.
That's it, the Age of Revelation. That's the one. Okay. Yeah.
That's where they take over all the titles. Is that right? And it's like,
fuck, I only know.
X-Vengers or something.
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Something like that. I think so. Could be wrong.
Yeah.
Could probably be wrong.
Dan, what's it been like for you then this month?
Oh, great, man! I've had loads of Kickstarters coming in that I've backed. People have been sending me and stuff. I've kind of actively gone out to try and find people's kind of like small press and indie stuff. And most of the time I'm sort of like, oh man, this is fine, but it's not great. But I've been coming across loads of titles, absolutely loving it. The kind of the breadth of comics you can find, still like online as webcomics, as well as like people sending them out digitally. It's great. It's just, yeah. He's just holding it out.
Age of Revelation. There you go.
Age of Revelation. X-Men.
There you go. Picked it
That's
up
like a pure 90s cover right there.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah. It's nostalgia for that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's been up. Man, I've been fucking loving it. I've got to say, I've not been jumping on Global as much as perhaps I have in other weeks, months. I kind of, when I load it up, I kind of get, sounds a bit old manish, a bit bewildered by so much choice.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, holy fuck. There's like,
it is a lot, isn't it? I do think it needs as an app, needs some curation, definitely.
If you tap on that top left, they've started sectioning it out into major publishers, haven't they?
Right.
Which is worth a look, because I know IDW are quite new on this, so I went in, reasonably new, so I went and ran through some of the IDW.
But I personally, I'm looking, I'm trying to find the diamonds in amongst the rough, as it were. So I know it's brilliant that they've got bigger publishers on there, but that's not what I'm there for. So I'm
want the smaller stuff.
I'm going for a deep dive. I'm swimming in sometimes shit.
I don't know why they don't do like a kind of like a pull list kind of thing where you put titles on a pull list, like a virtual pull list, and then
they do have that now, Dan. I was just actually looking at that where you can build out your own list.
Right. Okay. Because I was sort of prattling around with my library and stuff.
Relatively.
Yeah, because I guess there was a similar thing with the notifications, wasn't there? But
I've turned most of them off now. Yeah, they were irritating me.
If you've had a notification for a publisher, then like Mad Cave, then I get a lot of notifications, and I love Mad Cave comics, but I don't necessarily want to read all of them.
There's some stuff in there I thought that's not for me. Yeah. Can you do it for an artist or a writer? I don't think you can you?
I'm not sure actually.
I don't know.
Yeah. One thing I will say, I
mean, it seems obvious. Go
on. Is like just having the Dark Horse prices and stuff on there. Is it Dark Horse?
Yeah.
The ones that you have to sort of pay for. I mean, of course, there's part of me that understands it, but I don't want that app. I'm not gonna.
Do you get a discount from buying it through Yeah, because otherwise, why am I paying for an app?
I
I've
haven't.
got to pay for...
To be fair, I haven't looked because I've always scrolled past it. Do you know what I mean?
That's the thing with Global Comics. We're used to stuff rotating in and out of that app.
And
It's not like Comixology where you buy it. Well, even with Comixology, it's not completely safe, is it? But it's not like Comixology where you buy it and it's in your library forever. I'd worry that it wouldn't be there forever, which is why I wouldn't buy it on Global.
I think that one of the slight niggles is I always go to the new releases normally, just to see especially small press and indie creators. They'll be part of the big bundle of new releases because it crosses the gambit of all of them. And if you've got a lot of new releases that are those pay-only titles, that just eats up a lot of the browser window. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, oh god, I want to see. I don't want to see this. I want to see the other stuff. And perhaps there's something I can click or do something that means I wouldn't have this problem. But I'm a Luddite. So
bringing it back around to what Cliff was saying about curation. Like, I see titles come up on there, it's like, this is an AI comic. And I know the platform is fine with AI comics and you can like that or not, but it does state in the terms of service you should have your comic labeled as such when you upload it to the platform. And most of the ones I click on that are AI don't have that labeling at all. So I just don't want to interact with this stuff. It's less than fucking trash. I'm just not interested.
I don't think it's a problem so much as it's not a problem so much of sort of they have too much stuff, but there's not enough way of winnowing it down to the titles that you might want to read, I think. And you definitely want to cut out things like AI and for example, I'm not a huge manga fan, so that would be something that would be like, don't show me any manga stuff. But it would be good if you could sort of, like I said, winnow it down to sort of just the titles you really want to read, or the genres that you really want to read.
What have comics been like for you, Cliff, in recent times? It's epic when you put it like in recent times.
Unfortunately, I've been a little bit busy. I think, as everybody knows, at least in the ACP forum, my dad died, which is why I'm in the UK. So I've just been busy. I've been creating more than I have sort of reading, but I did sort of dive into Global Comics just to sort of take a look around and see if I could find some stuff to recommend. And I did find a couple titles that I found quite compelling. But mostly it's been pen to paper. Well, not even pen to paper. It's been sort of pen to screen because it's digital, So So
you're working on a comic, aren't you? So
I've got a couple of bits, a couple of irons in the fire, so to speak. So I've just been sort of you get into that sort of commitment mode where you're like, I need to deliver this, so I've been just sort of working diligently on pages and occasionally doing little sketches, but mostly sort of I've also been working from here as well, so as well as sort of doing a whole bunch of other stuff that you end up doing when your parent dies. So I've just been sort of super busy, but I've read a couple of comics that I will sort of detail in the recommends, and
look forward to that.
I always find it centers me a little bit, getting back to reading comics, because it's a nice it's a very calming thing to do. And
that might be something that we that sort of it's sort of that what you said there, Cliff, might tie into like one of the things that may come up in the top one of the questions that I have. But before, I mean, look,
should we just, Tony? We kind of didn't really get too much of an answer about, like, because you're still hitting up the shop and getting the pull lists and stuff.
Yeah.
How are you finding it?
There's a lot of shit out there. And I've sort of honed down the good stuff that I'm getting as well.
Fair enough.
Is that
Ghost Machine is still great?
Is that any different? I mean, when we hear that sort of like, you hear a general statement of like, oh, there's a lot of crap out there, but there's kind of, I guess there always has been. Do you know what I mean? There always is the brilliance and
I think the difference now is that the big two are producing the shit,
right?
And in specificity, the Marvel. There's a lot of crap. I mean, my heart has been with the X-Men since I could read. It's just I've okay, I can hear people on the Slack fucking telling me, but I have cut back nearly everything back off there, but I refuse to not buy Uncanny. And it's terrible. It genuinely is written badly, drawn badly, presented badly, going nowhere. It can't carry on like that.
let me ask you this, Tony.
Hmm.
Tony, would you say? I mean, you've been reading comics for like as long. I mean, forever, right?
Yeah.
Especially like the big two. I mean, where if you were to sort of gauge where Marvel is at in sort of the cycle of comics, I mean, you can sort of tell the ups and the downs, right, as you look at it. So the question was for Tony. I mean, over the like, he's the longest term comics reader that I've ever known, and sort of
Yeah.
dedicated and
Well,
collector and
it's
everything
longer, but
else.
yeah.
And I was just going to say, where are we at, like in the kind of the biorhythms of comics? Given the sort of the great period, it ebbs and flows, right? But are we at a real low point? Do you think? I think are we at a sort of crisis point with? Is Marvel at a crisis point with its comics?
And you're right. There are cycles. I mean, everyone refers to Marvel and DC during the '90s and stuff. I don't think it's quite. I think some are better than that, and some are worse than that.
Mm.
I think. I don't know. I don't think they've got the quality writers there. I don't think they've got the big thinkers and the people with big imaginations and stuff at Marvel at the moment. I think that's the problem. I think it's very by rote. The events are messy, and it's almost like they're only looking to the next comic. There's no long eye on anything. They just want to
Right.
sell that next comic, and they're making some mistakes in relation to themes. We've had that. Let's add Kamala Khan to all the comics and then reboot them from
Yeah.
that point. Thing that's been going on. The sort of cosmic event that's going on at the moment is pretty much ignorable. But there's still some good stuff going on. But DC are
Yeah.
putting out some great stuff. I think there's some really good stuff going on there. There's the odd thing at Marvel that I'm like enjoying. I think Red Hulk's good. Give me a minute. I think it's something else.
Yeah.
What about
Yeah.
that Imperial X? Is it Imperial?
Imperial, yeah. No, that's
Yeah.
a bit. I'm finding that massively messy.
Right. Okay.
And that's I think we've started getting the spin-off titles from that as well at the moment, and it's not doing what previous events that have been like the blueprint for that, which is it's copying that blueprint they've done previously
Yeah.
at all. Yeah. I
This
don't know.
brings
In
it
this, like just to go back quickly to your point, Cliff, I don't think there's a comparison because the
Okay.
world's so different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the writers, there's certain people who say the age of the writers was the early 2000s. I don't think we've got the writers anymore. I'd kill for a Brubaker back on a Marvel title. I'd kill for a Bendis to be back. There's that little period when we had they're really sort of, it had a direction to it. Garth as well back. We've got the Punisher coming. I think is it next week or the week after. So I'm looking forward to
Can't
that.
wait, man. Can't wait.
There's the red band version of that coming out. There's so they're sort of they're as always there'll be a few people that are trying and a few people that aren't. But yeah, I don't know. I just think they need to take more chances. They need them. They need the Marvel Knights bump again. If I want to compare it to a previous time when Marvel Knights
Right,
came in and they
yeah.
started taking some chances, I think maybe that would be
Do you
good.
think maybe innovatively they are just dragging? Because I mean, there doesn't
Yeah.
seem to be a huge amount of innovation anymore in the big two. At least none that attracts me back as a reader.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think it's because all the big heroes are tired out. I think there's a lot that can still be done with them, and people still love them.
Yeah, I think there's also, when people have these lulls or step out of it, there is a familiarity that people want when they go back. And that's the problem when they're building up a lot of stuff that people don't know. For instance, I didn't read Marvel Comics for a little bit, and then around the time of Civil War, right? Okay, Civil War was just about to come out, or had just come out, I remember. And I hadn't been reading Marvel Comics for a little while, and they said, "Oh, you should read this," and I picked up Civil War issue 1, and because that is still built around the pillars of what that entire publisher is, I knew where I was. Does that make sense? So I was like, oh, right, okay, there's Cap, there's Iron Man, there's the things I know. I'm in once again. I worry sometimes that like they build up a lot of things that if people want to come back to it, you're going to be walking into a party and know absolutely no one there, and no one wants to do that, do they?
Thing is, if you if say for example you do come back and you decide to be into one particular character, like Thor's just rebooted again with the same fucking writer. It's rebooted. I don't know why. Just short term issue 1 bumps. Yeah. But you're gonna be in it and you think, all right, I'm gonna give it a go. Right, I'm sticking with it. It's a bit shit. I'm sticking with it. Oh, new number 1. Oh, I'll leave it now then.
Yeah.
That's how I feel it is going sometimes.
Yeah.
Nobody's buying Iron Man. Nobody's buying Thor. Nobody's buying Captain America. It's strange when you think outside of Spider-Man, the X-Men, they're the big, especially from a movie point of view, they're the big tentpole characters, and the sales aren't going very well. I know the sales have been estimations of sales is now a different thing, isn't it? Because it's down to 110 shops in America where they get the sales figures from now, and not wider. But from the indications, there's X books, fringe X books that aren't in the top 200, which is crazy. You put out an X-Man, you put out a fucking Iceman miniseries, it's going to get fucking in the top 50 back in the day. Now it's no, Phoenix is outside, this sort of thing. Yeah.
Talking of,
sorry,
I was going to swing us around to the Brevoort letter, but you go for it, Cliff.
No, I was just going to say, do you think these constant events are the things that are sort of driving down viewership? Because you were talking about a new number 1, which should be the ideal point for somebody to hop on, and yet there you are hopping off. And I'm wondering if more people are just sort of hopping off now rather than sticking with it because there's no continuity.
In certain places, the sales figures would suggest that, but I'm not an expert in anything like that. But I would say from what I'm listening to and what I'm reading and stuff, there's a possibility that's happening.
Events used to be exciting for me. Even though people go, there's too many events, blah, blah, blah. Events used to be exciting, but when you have an event every other month, it's not an event anymore.
Well, they're running a couple at a time now.
It's just a thing. Yeah. It's just a thing that's happening. It's a storyline. Don't call it an event. It's just a storyline.
Yeah, we've got Imperial and we've got, at least one event going on in the X-Men at the moment. And there's a couple running at the same time, each with spin-off titles, and that doesn't work.
You have a Civil War, you have a Secret Wars, you have all the, the fucking Infinity Gauntlet. You have these, they're events, aren't they? And that's just Marvel, There's all the stuff that happens in DC as well. Like Blackest Night, I think was, no matter what people might say about it now, at the time that was massive when that came out. And those to me are events, and there hasn't really been anything that I've heard. When I hear the title of an event, sometimes it doesn't feel like an event. Does that make sense? Sometimes when you hear an event's title, you think, what?
What I would encourage people to do, and not to be Debbie Downer, I think there are good books, especially DC. There are some good books at Marvel as well. Just go in a comic shop and just flick through until you find one, and just pick it up and read that as a series. Yeah, I think that's what we're missing. People are, I think partly because of miniseries and events, people are just reading them and thinking they can get away with it. It certainly happened in the X-Men universe as well. It's like just find a nice little run. Something like Red Hulk or something like that. It's a nice run that it's sort of it's not standalone because nothing's ever standalone these days. But there's an element of you could pick a Wolverine title or something like that and enjoy it. And I think people need to do that more. I think they're just looking at what's the big series. I mean, Absolute Batman's selling through the roof, and that's a book you can just pick up.
They've been selling out the trades of that in shops. People saying, we've got the trade back in.
Yeah, and I think you can do that. Martian Manhunter is a lot of people are loving it. There's the odd book you can just pick up and enjoy it, and I think there's a couple of there's been a couple. Helverine, I actually quite like that book series. There's a couple that are going on that you can just read and make it your comic to read every month, and I just encourage people to do that more.
I think that's a great point, Tony. But I think what makes it prohibitive is if you can't take a punt on something that's $5 for the 24 pages, right? So it seems like I think most of the people who are not comic, that's quite a lot of money to take a punt on a single issue, in a series that you don't know how long it's going to be around. So it seems like a lot of people, I think, are waiting for a sort of aggregation of sort of around a title. So, things like Martian Manhunter and Absolute Batman, people are hearing word of mouth that it's really good, so they'll take the chance on that.
Which I think is where the role of the comic shop, from what you're saying there, Cliff, I think the role of the comic shop is still very required because you can flick through and see what you like. There's nowhere online you can flick through and actually see the real insides of a comic anymore. You might get the odd splash page or the odd, maybe 1 or 2 pages, but you don't really get the whole impact of it. But if you walk in a comic shop, you're presented by a wall of comics, which is a great browsing experience. I think that's what we're definitely missing in digital. And you can go in and you can look through the comics.
Yeah.
Don't do it too badly. Don't fucking ruin them because you get told off. But I think you're right, and I think you're right about the price, Cliff. Absolutely, for a $4.99 comic, in most comic shops in the UK, you're paying £4.90, which is outrageous. It's ridiculous. If you do though, I hate to big up the faceless, sterile Forbidden Planet, but for a £4.90 comic, you're going to pay £3.30 of Forbidden Planet. Which is more sensible.
It makes it more available, I think, because I mean, one of the things I think we've priced out of the market here are kids. And I think that pipeline is broken now, where you used to sort of get funneled through from the British weeklies to the American comics, that customer pipeline. Not to sound too technical about it, but that's no longer there anymore, because I don't think people buy those. There are no weeklies really to buy that get you into comics at an early age, which is when it crystallizes and becomes kind of a passion. So I think I wonder about sort of, is there some opportunity here for like cheaper, less glossy, less well produced comics,
well, we saw that
on a quicker basis.
We saw that on, I don't know if you got the notification of this, Cliff, from your Global Comics one, but there's this 1,000-page collection that's just come out. Is it Kodansha? I think it might be Kodansha who put it out, which is a manga collection of 1,000 pages.
You see, I think they're doing the right thing. I mean, it's like black and white. It's on newsprint. It's really
I think it's
cheap.
free on Kindle.
You
I've
get
got
it
a
free on
feeling.
Kindle?
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that to me is that attracts readers, because you're going to take a chance on that, whereas you won't necessarily take a chance on a 24-page glossy comic book, right? Which is really sad.
Nothing happens. It's part of a 6-issue story. It's like
Forbidden Planet. There's 3 books at the price of 2 on manga. So you can kind of like buy 2 that you like, and then buy another one that like chancing your arm, seeing what that's like, and that it comes to like less than like 4 comic books. It's
that big collection is not the manga that I enjoy. I'm much more into the sort of older and underground. But I looked through it, and there was like 4 or 5 stories in there I thought were great.
Yeah, I think you need to give people the opportunity to be able to discover a creator that they like, or writer, or artist, because that kind of is what hooks you in, I think. And you look for other stuff by that creator, because like, okay, I really enjoyed this, so I might really enjoy something else that they do. And I think it's definitely baiting the hook to get people into reading comics, by giving them a much wider kind of cheaper alternative to sort of dip and dive in. I remember one of the first comics I ever sort of got into Jeff Lemire for his writing was that I think it was Top Shelf back in the day, put out like a collection of different sort of teasers, almost, a sampler anthology comic. And I remember reading his story and thinking, oh, this guy's really got something, and looking up some of his other stuff. So I think you got to bait the hook in some way,
that's the good thing about anthologies, isn't it? Like,
absolutely.
It might have 5 comics, only one of them, like 1 or 2 really appeal to you, but you're saying, oh, okay, these guys, or like girls, whatever, really appeals to me, and you go up and look up more of their work. And
I think the thing is that for us, comics used to be one thing, didn't they? They used to be the comics and the newsagents, and now it's not. There's so many different avenues and aspects and styles and availability of comics now. It's gone from being a single hobby, isn't it? That's the thing.
Well, there's such a diversification now of comics. You can buy comics on any different topic. I think at least manga has the one unifying principle of its manga. And that style either appeals or it doesn't. But whereas Western comics are sort of it's really difficult to find sort of that unique independent title that you are going to fall in love with, and the creators you're going to fall in love with, because where do you find them? How do you make the connection between the creator who's producing the comic and the buyer who's going to want to buy it? And building that audience of people is sort of, I don't know, it's a constant mystery to me, and a constant sort of, how do you work toward that as a creator to sort of build an audience of people who enjoy your work? How do you touch those people in a very appropriate way?
Or not in a tribute press way.
No. Well, maybe in a tribute press way. I mean, but it's got to be consensual.
I'll swing this back around to the letter that got written into
Okay.
Tom Brevoort. I'm going to condense it because the guy does ramble a little bit. Essentially, he's a big X-Men fan, and he's not mad on stories that are kind of essentially dream sequences because he says they're gimmicky, disposable, often grimdark, and perfect for single issues, but they hold no ramifications for the ongoing title, and he just doesn't see the point of them. He does quote Russell T Davis, who wrote in his book The Writer's Tale about hating dream sequences because they're empty filler and dramatic dead weight with no lasting consequences. How do you guys feel?
I think mostly I agree. I don't think you can have a hard and a fast rule because I kind of like comics that slip in and out of consciousness in a way. I wrote one in Cockney Kung Fu. There's a bit where she's unconscious and she dreams of her mentor, and her mentor gives her that sort of kick up the arse to go and do something and wake up and kick some people in the head.
Yeah,
but that's definitely different. That's like the kind of
that's useful exposition.
Motivational.
I think the most important thing about them is narratively, are they important? Much like we talk about certain bits of dialogue, if it's not important, cut it out your book. You know, if it doesn't add anything to it, why is it there?
It has to have a payoff too, I think. You can't do the Chicago Hope thing where all of a sudden, the series that you've been investing all time in for years is suddenly just a dream sequence. Stuff like that. Tricking the reader with a dream sequence is not a good thing to do.
And it's not to say you can't do subtle stuff with it. For instance, like if a character's in this dream, other characters are acting in a different way, and they're thinking about their feelings towards different characters, and that could pay off 10 issues down the line. That it could pay off later, if not immediately.
It's definitely case by case basis. I think dreams can be a look into the true psyche of the person you're dealing with in the comic. And I think, for example, if you're dealing with a PTSD character, PTSD comes out a lot in the dreams, the anxiety dreams that they have. And I think it can direct emotions, it can direct narrative, and it can direct your feelings backwards and forwards to this character. And I think sometimes it can be useful. I see what he's saying about I think what TV suffers more from this than comics, I'm going to say.
Do you know what? There is a very small percentage where I've actually thought a dream sequence is decent in a TV show.
Yeah, and in the same way that Flashback, I know we mentioned before we came on air, the mid-season Marvel TV series Flashback, which bored the fucking tits off me. Do you know what I mean? It's like, we used to get that all the time. I love Thingy Jones, Jessica Jones, the TV series, but they had one in that, and I'm like, come on. I want it to be the next episode now. Yeah.
But I think there are stories where it's done very well and even sort of forms the basis for the entire story. I mean, I'm thinking back to, I guess, Ragman, back in the day. That was like the entire basis of the story was that he would it was one extended sort of hopping from one dream to the other, fighting dream villains. But in that case, I guess the conceit was that the dream world is a real place. It's part of the universe. It's
let's face it. Some comic series written by people we won't mention here, basically its whole fucking premise on it.
Yes,
I find that the frustrating thing about it is that when they want to do these dream sequences, because they think like, if we did in this and this would be really interesting and readers would really identify with it, and we can have it away from that. But it's like, why is your comic not doing that anyway? Do you know what I mean? If it's saying like we could tell a really interesting story if we did X, Y, and Z as like a dream sequence, why not just tell that as
I prefer the here and now
the story?
Yeah, I do.
Tell that as the story. If it's going to go fucking crazy, have it go fucking crazy, and then
there's more jeopardy in the here and now.
That's the comics.
Yeah. There's more jeopardy. There's more danger. There's more.
It feels like 1 foot in the door, 1 foot out. So it's like, the readers aren't really liking this. It's a dream. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
You're like, okay.
It's I mean, I think anything can be done handled right in comics, of course. And there's been some great dream sequences in comics. Let's face it. And a lot of it is down to the visuals, I will say. But for me, normally in my stories, or the stories that I like to read, they're usually just a couple of pages at most, or it could be a couple of panels where someone and then just wakes up in a cold sweat. Do you know what I mean? It's just a bit of punctuation to something.
Yeah.
But when it's longer form, it's got to have a reason, hasn't it? It's got.
I think the guy who wrote him was kind of saying. I think he pointed at stuff like that. It's this age of revelation, where it's kind of this is going to be a line that goes on for a little bit and then it's just gone. So it's like, what?
Right. Why are we doing that?
Why are you doing this?
I mean,
Why are
that's
you
the
doing
story
this?
for most of Marvel.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Well, no, I think that's because like there's also a sense of there's no jeopardy or actual narrative sort of stability built into these sort of dream sequences if they've got no payoff. It's not like it's like a Freddy Krueger. Do you know what I mean? You face you face a villain and you know in your dream that if you get killed in this, you're dead. There's nothing like that. No. You know, that would be a fascinating. That sounds like something, a villain like that doing something like that. It sounds like something that the classic New Mutants would face. You know what I mean? When it went all weird.
Oh, that was very New Mutants.
Yeah,
the whole thing
it?
was it was a nightmarish horror film esque sort of definitely.
So you can do interesting things with them, but I just don't know. I mean, who do you think could draw like a really good? Who would you like to see draw a dream sequence comic? You don't have to think about the story, but
think of it.
Just something that was going to be.
Oh
weird.
yeah, that would be my answer too, Dan. Same
Michael Reed.
Yeah. Yes.
Michael Reed, yeah, definitely.
Tradmore. If you drop some LSD.
You know what? I was just thinking Tradmore. Tradmore was my pick actually. I think.
Okay. I just stole everyone's there. Apologies for that.
You got your finger on the pulse, Dan. That's what it is. Yeah.
Cliff Cumber. There you go.
Oh yeah, that. Yeah.
No, my God, no. I honestly, it fills me with anxiety the thought of having to draw a dream sequence. Honestly,
really? All right, I'm writing one in our next issue.
Hung myself up because
to be fair, Falpy. To be fair, Falpy.
Yes,
Falpy does those amazing hallucinatory sequences, which are kind of, as long as there's sort of a basis and a reason, like Vince said, for having that sort of unreal, it's sort of surreal kind of pathway in there that forms a part of the narrative, and with Falp's stuff, that's part of his genius is, he masterfully weaves in this sort of hallucinogenic kind of aspects to his stories. And I wouldn't say those are really sort of dreams.
It's a status quo almost for him.
It really is. It's sort of the world in which he lives. It's just
reality can just sort of bleed away a moment.
I think where it goes bad is where you have like dream sequences just sort of as padding, because
that's the worst bit. Yeah. And that that's almost like a writer's room go-to. Sometimes I feel a dream sequence can be.
Oh god.
Yeah. I think it's like Batman always has those sort of flashbacks, slightly dreamy sequences always, and I think we've all gotten a bit tired of kind of that's the narrative tool you're using. I think it can get played out, and frankly, from my perspective, I know you're going to punish me now with the dream sequence, Tony, but like the idea of how you sort of on the page represent that dream sequence, so that the reader knows that it is a dream sequence and not just a continuation of like the story in the panels. There has to be a very
distinct wavy panel borders.
Do you think there's any? Do you think there's any value in having an issue that? Now, hear me out here, because I imagine that immediately the answer would be no. Having an issue that is a dream, but the reader only realizes as the issue's happening, like because some dreams that we have, I don't remember a lot of my dreams, thank God, because that would probably be a menagerie of horror I can't even begin to comprehend. But when everything seems normal, but you just like your best mate's a celebrity or something, or something just everything seems really normal, but there's one thing that isn't normal in it. And do you think you could craft a comic book that seems like a real thing, but there's these little hints throughout the whole issue that something isn't right about this, and then there's a reveal. It's almost like a long form joke. Do you think that could be done in comics?
I think, of course, it can be done. I think you just need to be careful. I just think you need to be careful that the payoff doesn't have big readers going, "Oh, for fuck's sake."
Yeah. It's like that with humor as well, I guess, isn't it? It's much like it's like a joke.
Use the same tool like with like someone with an illusory ability, or they get put in like a Matrix style device, but the reality they think around them is real, but there's clues to it not being quite right. I guess the dream thing is just another mechanism to tell that kind of story.
It's something of an overplayed trope, I'm going to say. Sometimes,
I would be very cautious about it.
Yeah, I would be too. Yeah.
I think any time you take a character out of the real world, you're treading into very dangerous territory, especially in any narrative form. Any artistic form, because it has been done so much and it is so cliched, and you want to avoid cliches like like the plague. So it's like I think anything can be done in comics. I think, it's that fertile sort of a medium but it's all about what is it that's new and compelling that the creators can bring to it that actually sort of engages you as a reader, you know? And I think the problem is, it's like as soon as you see a dream sequence coming, what you have to overcome is the reader sort of shrugging and going like, oh God, okay.
Yeah.
It's like, unless you can
agree.
provide something compelling with that dream sequence,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nudity.
Yeah.
Always just sex dream.
But I'll go back to my previous point. Just put that in the comic anyway. What's the problem? It doesn't have to be a dream.
Yeah.
It's like being in the school assembly stealing your pants, isn't it? It's similar sort of thing.
Yeah.
To that.
I got sacked as the teacher after that.
Yeah, I was about to say we don't do that. We're fully grown men. But I will say, Cliff talked about the medium of comics there, which I think then we're really segueing like absolute pros this week. I think.
It's going remarkably smoothly. I know.
It's going to go wrong. It's going to go wrong.
It's going to go wrong soon.
Yeah. As soon as 9 o'clock hits.
Yeah, it's approaching.
Yeah. Dick joke time.
Dick joke at the clock.
Is that your new catchphrase, Dan?
It's dick joke time.
Halfway through a guest. It's 9 o'clock hits.
Yeah, cut them off.
Yeah. Sorry, Mark Miller. We've got to do cop jokes now.
Yeah. But yes, comics as themselves. I threw a little question to the gang earlier in the week about what are the real value of comics. Now, that word value needs to be explained for this, listeners. And as always, when it comes to these topics, much like we've talked about dream sequences there, this is just our opinions and thoughts, and we want to know yours as well. Keep it going in the Slack, on the Instagram, anywhere, or just keep chatting with it with your mates in a coffee shop /pub /brothel. I don't know, whatever.
Chip shop.
Well, chip shop. That's it.
A brothel chip shop?
Well,
I wouldn't eat the chips
smell.
in there.
Well, you don't go for the chips.
Yeah. Salt and vinegar.
Don't go for the
Fish.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Are you the one that gives the hand jobs? Yeah. So we'll wash your hand. I want some chips.
Yeah.
It's the classic joke.
We just changed the oil.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting because I explained to you earlier that the mind plays tricks on you. I mean, if you have an imaginary salt shaker and shake it into your mouth, you can actually taste the salt. Everyone at home, give it a go.
Everyone do it now.
We did this live on air and it fucking works.
Do it now, listeners.
Yeah. I can taste it now.
Oh, I'm clipping that. I am clipping that.
That's my new text alert.
Yeah. Yum, yum, yum. I can taste it now. Anyway. See, it's already gone off the rails. But yes, what are the real value of comics? Now, we are not talking monetarily. We are not talking about the prices of individual issues. Or the price of the. I think we touched on it earlier, like the cover prices, what we're paying for digital, what we're paying on the shelves, whatever. My question was, what is the value of comics as a medium and as an art form and as a piece of world culture in general? What do you believe is the value of it? It's quite a big question. See, after those jokes, I just dropped a real big question.
My thought is that what should be the value is where I went with it in my head.
Yeah.
And I think comics should be the medium, and I mean man and woman when I say this, but should be the medium of the common man.
Yeah.
I think that's what we've lost. I think we've lost the value of comics. Comics should be for everyone, and I think we're losing that.
I think I sort of agree, Tony, but I also slightly disagree. I think in terms of that what's happened is this explosion of diversification in the kinds of comics that are available and the kinds of stories that are being told, is that we don't have that common thread so much anymore of sort of these are the comics you get, I
don't think we have it at all.
I think, but it's dispersed now, so that, I mean, if you are interested in, I don't know, if people who are furries, for example, sort of, would look for comics that are to do with furries. I think everything's evolving into kind of niches more so than.
Yeah, I think, all due respect to furries, I think
Yeah.
that there's a possibility with that, but I don't think we've got the Roy of the Rovers or the
Not
Battle
anymore.
anymore.
No,
You know,
no.
the comic that everyone, blokes on a building site will pick up, or kids on the way home from school would pick up, or dads would pick up on a Sunday for their kids to shut them up. I don't think we've got that anymore
No,
enough. There's the odd
most
thing you
definitely.
see in news agents. You see the odd Deadpool comic, don't you, and stuff like that.
Hmm.
I mean, there's the comics like the Beano still going strong. I mean, I can't really speak about those titles because I don't read them. So I hypothesizing that they're gangbusters and they're connecting with a whole generation of young readers and kids, much like I was back in the day when I was reading the Beano, and the Phoenix is doing a similar sort of thing.
Yeah, but you don't see the Phoenix. I haven't seen the Phoenix in a shop for years, man.
I haven't seen
Where,
I mean, it used to be only in Waitrose. When was it?
I don't go in the fucking Waitrose, but do you know what I mean?
Where do you get your potato dauphinoise?
We're talking about the common man here, not Waitrose.
Oh, be quiet!
I think
Where's my foie gras?
the comic that comes nearest for me is Viz.
Yeah.
Viz is available in every service
Yep.
station you go to on the motorway, and I like to think that it's selling because there's always a big pile of them, and
Yeah.
they seem to sell through. That truckers are buying them, and
Yeah.
Salesmen are just reading it while they have a burger on their way to the next.
But
It's like that.
But that's also you're talking about the availability to the grown-ups. Do you know what I mean? There's a broader spectrum to comics, and comics which unfairly has been called a kids medium all the time. Do you know what I mean? So things like Viz will go completely under the radar, unfairly, a lot of the time when discussions like this are had, because a lot of like popular culture as well, away from the movies. Just ignore them. We're not talking about the movies now. We're talking about comics as a medium. A lot of them, I think, are still caught in that. Comics are for kids. Comics aren't a real medium. There's still that snobbishness sometimes in a lot of areas. Certainly, probably in the UK. I can't really speak elsewhere. And I'm not even bringing manga into it right now. But I think they are still vitally important and should be regarded as like being important. But as you say, Tony, one of the greatest importance is it's for everyone. It should be for everyone. And sometimes the niggles are when you get like the Guardian sort of saying, "Oh, this isn't like those other comics. This is actual real art." It's like, well, it's always real fucking art. They always are.
Well, let me ask you this, Vince. Do you think like we've sort of I mean, I agree with Tony. Comics should be a mass-produced art form, and it should be for the working man.
Yeah.
And frankly, I think it should be low culture. I don't think it always has to be like high culture art.
I agree.
Have we intellectualized and academicized? I don't know what the word would be there, but have we
Hamsterdized? Was it Pat calls it the Hamsterdization of comics? Doesn't he?
Right. Have we gone too far in that direction where we've been too precious about trying to treat comics as its own art form that deserves academic and educational debate and a place in? I mean, has that gone too far? And pushed it past where it just has been this sort of dirty newsprint, black and white. You get it weekly. There's a proliferation of stories, and you get value for money.
Yeah.
Just like manga is kind of these days. I mean,
manga's all
in the
kids
foot.
read manga seemingly, don't they?
Yeah.
It's a fucking mental for it. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we've shot ourselves in the foot.
I think there is a lot of that, Cliff. I think there's an absolute. Sometimes I think some people were so intent on comics being taken seriously that comics were taken too seriously. Does that make sense? There's that.
I think that's the problem I have with sort of this eulogization of things like Watchmen. Back in the day. I think the issue is now that this sort of false premise of comics as literature somehow that doesn't do justice to the medium, which is it's not literature, it's not written word, it's not just individual pictures. It is a combination of the two in a sort of an alchemical kind of way that is just elevates both, if you know what I mean. I think that, and to be able to do comics and to be able to be steeped in the language of comics to the point where you kind of understand it. I think, we've over intellectualized that now, and it's sort of, we've made it sort of an almost, like an artisanally created bagel at your favorite sort of overly expensive
Yeah.
bakery,
I think
right?
we compare
Yeah.
too often in the similar sort of vein to what
Yeah.
you're saying there, Cliff. Everything seems to be comics seem to be compared to movies or compared to TV
Mm.
box
Hmm.
sets and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And we shouldn't. They're their own thing. We should, cartoons even. There's even different from that. We need to just see them as their own thing. And I think there's a lot of other factors that play in the fact that that's been pushed away. And the big one is what we just talked about a minute ago, which is price as well. But I think you're right. I think the you know all kinds of politics play into all kinds of cliques play into it, and this isn't really for such and such is this isn't really for I see that all the time still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a definite ivory tower approach to a lot of comics,
Yeah,
and the worst thing is like the people who seem to sort of regard and eulogize some of these ivory tower comics are actually, some of the stuff is drag. I
yeah,
mean,
Yeah.
yeah. I think
Agree.
we need
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
we need to approach it in the same way that we approach the Slack, and we say everyone's
Mm.
welcome.
Hmm.
Everyone is
Yeah.
welcome into comics.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think it's great to have some sort of facilitation into finding people comics that they will enjoy,
Yeah.
Mm.
because there are
Yeah.
so many out there. And like I said, the difficulty is, it's like, how do you find the one that you want to read, right? I think often than not, you just stumble upon it. But if there's sort of a way of facilitating, helping people find the kind of comics that they love, that they maybe didn't even know that they loved. That's the real difficulty, I think, is connecting the reader with that, the creator, or that their
Mm.
creation, the
Mm.
thing that you pick it up, right. And you talk about the value, and I'm really talking about kind of the intrinsic value of the comic, which is kind of, it's like different from the instrumental value, right? The intrinsic value, which is sort of where you cherish something for its own sake, not to get too philosophical, but
Yeah.
you derive aesthetic pleasure from the comic. Yeah,
Mm.
that's
Yeah.
that's what I'm looking for, is where I sort of connect emotionally, or resonate with the art and the story in that unique way that comics
Right.
can be,
Here's
you know?
a here's
Without
a
ignoring the fact that it is still art. I
mm.
think
Yeah,
that
yeah.
there's the beauty that art is in itself whittled down is communication of emotion. And I think we
Mm,
just need to realise that, whether that be like Roy scoring a goal in the FA Cup, down to some sort of very esoteric, for want of a better word, fat comic. I think that, we need to appreciate that that's what it is. And once people see it and they go, oh, fucking, that's great, man.
mhm,
And you
mm.
can either of them can be the case.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking of Rock of the Reds. I remember sort of, I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah,
like football, but man, that was just, the
What's wrong with
art and the
that?
story was
yeah.
just so readable. It just had that sort of effect on me where it was like I was immediately into it.
Yeah.
I wonder
And
whether we've gone too far one way though. How do we pull these people back in the age of the digital? Everyone just stares at their phone. We need to. Have we
mm,
gone too far one way of,
Yeah.
popularizing comics?
Well,
well, I think accessibility is definitely a question,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Making a comic accessible to
Well,
people is,
well. I mean, there's that. I'm going to twist this question and throw it at Dan Butcher right now,
Mhm.
in a real sort of devil's advocate kind of way. This is not anything I truly believe in, what I'm about to say, but this is just a general question. Obviously, webcomics, such a big thing now, have created a raft of creators, including our beautiful Dan himself. But because of that, because it's digital, because it's on the screen, because of the disposability of it. Oh well, disposability of it is the wrong word.
Well, there's like
Is
a
there
fucking million.
less? Has it devalued the medium? that's
Well,
that's
no, because webcomics always operated under that kind of proviso anyway, of sort of
yeah.
that you consume them and then move on to something else. That's why a lot of them do the 3-panel strip thing of like
Yeah.
a humor cartoon. So it's like a newspaper strip back in the day when people used to get newspapers all the time, that you'd read Hagar the horror or whatever.
Yeah, some webcomic creators are like some of the most prolific of all.
It's
Aren't
we've been over the subject, but obviously you're kind of working and producing your comics and stuff, but then to get it under people's noses, you've got to kind of go to war with the algorithm and social media networks, and that's like a kind of an ever-changing enemy and environment that once you think you've kind of got your head around it is when you realize you don't know it at all. It's just very difficult. So where some people have like a job as a marketer all day, that's got to be almost like a subset of your role as an online comic creator. You've got to understand how just to get the fucking thing into people onto people's devices.
Yeah,
which is it's I see so many people just put their comic up, and it's like if people find it, they find it. If they don't, they don't. I'm kind of almost like that way with Vanguard at the moment, because I just want to put the comic out. If people get to read it, that's great. I'd love for everyone to read it, but
everyone should read it.
I'm not going to spend every fucking waking moment trying to maximize the site and to get it in front of people, because that's no fun. And what am I doing this for if it's not for having a good time making comics?
What does keep you going, Dan?
I love making comics. I love storytelling, and just I'd be making the comics if no one was reading them. Do you know what I mean? I get a kick out of people reading it and reacting to it, but I'd be making my own comics doing whatever, but just sitting there on the desktop, just because that's yeah.
It is a compulsive thing. It does sort of eat into a part of your soul. I think this business, I think you have to love it. You have to love what you do to be a creator, because it's kind of a thankless task sometimes.
Tony's mentioned it before. Sometimes you get people coming on who kind of like almost tourist-like, and they think, "Oh, I'll make a comic," and it's like it's not so much of a mindset of thinking, "Oh, I'm going to make a comic," but the idea of not making a comic is as alien as saying, "I don't think I'll eat today" or something. Do you know what I mean? Like you don't think about not doing it. It's just something you do. You keep making the comimes.
I think there's a lot of sort of means to an end stuff in comics at the moment, where there are people sort of just using comics for a means to an end. It's like, the script didn't get made or into a film.
A lot.
So, a lot of celebrities, though. I mean, if comics didn't have value, though, these people would not be turning to the comics field in order to try and float their projects, or either that, or I don't think. Maybe there's a degree of disrespect to the comics readers from sort of, especially celebrity comics, which I can't stand.
I think what Dan's sorry to interrupt there, but I think what Dan's saying there speaks to the wider theory of art anyway. I think the need to create art is that thing, isn't it? I saw a great quote from Da Vinci today: "His painting is poetry that is seen rather than felt," and I think comics is included in that, or can be. I think the need to create art. It doesn't matter. Like you say, Dan, it doesn't matter if 1,000 people see it or 10 people see it sometimes. The need to create it is in us.
It's the creation process as opposed to kind of like the people consuming it.
And it's satisfying as well, I guess, for you as well when you create that page and you stick it,
If there's times when like I've not been creating and not doing stuff and I do not feel good, I don't like it.
It's back to what we talked to Vince about a few weeks ago, is it does play on you, doesn't it, when you're not doing something? Not that even you're used to it. I think we all create art in our own way. Certain people, don't we?
I've been like with this week feeling like fucking shit. Like I have to get up and do like some chores and stuff, and it's like, right, I'm just sick. Just take a couple of fucking days off and don't do comics and stuff. And then like in the evening, I've got the laptop on and I'm moving some lettering around or something. But it's.
Yeah, I've been backwards and forwards along the motorway this week, writing when I can. But if you look at the notes section on my phone, it's just full up of fucking sentences of nonsense that have just occurred to me, and I have to get them down. There's a requirement for us to do it, isn't there?
I think that there definitely is. I don't think we would do it if there wasn't some sort of drive to do it. I mean, there's very little reward in this, especially these days. So the reward has to be the value that it gives you as a creator in the act of the doing of the art.
Yeah.
Got to say, circling back, when you said about script writers and they can't get their film made or whatever, and they say, "I'll make a comic book." For me, that's always, maybe I'm coming at a glass half full. I always feel like I haven't achieved what I wanted to do. I might as well try and see if I can get made into a comic. What the fuck? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know,
It seems the wrong approach to me.
It's almost like they think of us as the cheapest
cheap
cousin,
option.
don't they? Yeah, yeah.
And sometimes I feel like that opinion of born of like how much a comic, the relevance of comics and how much pull you get. They don't have a fucking clue as like what you used to think that a comic could do and the reach it had. It has changed enormously.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you used to be able to get, if this comic does well, fucking, I'll be on the news and blah, 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 blah. It's like, that ain't happening, mate. It's not happening.
Even for celebrities, I think celebrities think somehow that their name is going to be enough to propel somebody to buy their shitty product, and I don't think I've read a celebrity comic ever, really.
Well, celebrities love attention, and anything that they think can get them attention. I think
so
sometimes.
That Emilia Clarke did a comic, and that was that flash in the pan, gone. Whoopi Goldberg, gone. I mean, the County one, at least that did some numbers.
Yeah, it's quite readable. I didn't mind that one so much of them all.
To be fair, he's got like a good kind of thing built up about him. Like, there's a lot of people like very endeared to Keanu Reeves in the way he comports himself. So,
and also when he talked about it, he was talking about the creators as well.
When Matt Kent talked about it, he did say that there was genuine collaboration going on.
Yeah.
But he was wise enough, I think, to employ really good creators, and he's got the money to employ really good creators. Whereas, you see somebody like Emilia Clarke with MOM or something like that.
Yeah,
and Whoopi Goldberg, and I
think they were both badly advised. I think.
Yeah, they just sort of pick some sort of no-name creator who is, I don't know, maybe cheap. I'm not sure. I mean, not to disparage the creators, but. Like,
usually they come out with opinions that are like 20 years old as well. It's like, when you go into a comic shop and there's all the sweaty men in there and they sort of they treat you badly because
that was
I'm not saying that doesn't happen. But like, do you know what I mean? It's like, oh fuck's sake, you're bringing out these tired tropes that we've seen a million fucking times and been bored of a million more, and acting like it's the fresh thing out the oven. It's like, no.
Oh mate, I was in Gosh. I was in Gosh today at the counter with Hal and Greg talking, and a lady came in and bought a book of yokai from Shigeru Mizuki, and we ended up having a big conversation about it.
Nice.
I bet she doesn't think that. It's like
yeah. It's just a tired trope, and that's that.
It's just an angle, a talking point that they can talk about on articles and.
But it's their only touch point. It's only a touch point to the medium. That's all they know. So they kind of.
It's also quite, dismissive and denigratory to the medium as a whole. I think,
because it's taken so many steps forward since.
That's not a true representation of it. So what you're doing is you're just really sort of you're sort of trying to capitalize on. You're talking about the industry that you are bootstrapping in order to try and sell your failed script product. So you're sort of cutting off your nose to spite.
You're also cheapening the experience of people who genuinely have had a bad experience. I think sometimes. Yeah,
I mean, it does happen. Hopefully it happens a lot less than it used to, but I mean, I've always found my local comic book is very sort of welcoming and has never all sorts are in there, kids and all ages, all genders, all types.
I mean, Sev, you went to a comic shop week after week and they didn't know your name, and just a forward example at random.
So if I was an attractive female, they'd know my name. I'll tell you now, in my shop.
I mean,
they do. Honestly,
I think one of the things about like harking back to celebrity comics again is like they don't necessarily, taking Mr. Reeves aside out of it, they don't really push it, because I think if it's one of those things, if it fails, there's a sense of, well, no one's going to care about it because no one's reading comics. Do you know what I mean? It feels like it's not like they've launched a pop career and everyone's looking at them about it. If they put out a comic and it doesn't do anything,
fucks up. They lost a few grand or whatever.
Yeah, no one. It's not hip and cool enough to be front and center of Entertainment Weekly or Vanity Fair or anything like that. Do you know what I mean? It's not something that's going to be big entertainment news.
Yeah.
Which
I would ask in that case, why even do it?
Exactly.
What's the point? I mean,
So
You should create it because you want, because you want to.
like I
make a
said, I
comic.
think that they're so far out the loop of what they think comics
Yeah.
can be and achieve that they think that this is going to get some pull when
yeah.
those days are gone.
Yeah, it's not that it's not the
Unfortunately.
entree or calling card to sort of
No.
MCU success anymore. It's
Yeah.
just not. And it's like winning the lottery to have a comic book that is picked up by Netflix, you know?
Mm.
And even then there's risk associated with it. But I mean, for me, you know, we're talking about the value of comic books, and that sort of for me erodes the value I think in the public eye is that they'll see something like that. You know, you'll get like the average non-comics reader who pick it up because, oh, hey, it's that woman who was on Game of Thrones, and they'll read it and look at it and be like, oh, is that comics? Is this what passes for comics?
Yeah.
And then that
Yeah.
sort of cheapens the whole industry, and those people don't look any further
Yeah.
than that, you know?
If we want to roll this back to like you said there, Cliff, the value of comics, and if I want to strip it back, you know, just completely strip it back to what the value of comics is for me, the value of comics is the communication from the page to the reader, page by page, comic by comic, series by series. I think that's the value of comics for me, the ability to communicate from a page something to a reader. That's I think. If you strip it back
right
just
back.
to that,
Yeah, that's all. I mean, that is
examine
all
each comic. If it does that,
communication.
it has value. I
Yeah.
think.
But I think you see within that sort of more global sort of that's a very basic sort of emotional kind of
Yeah.
reaction, the resonance that you feel with that sort of the format, the page, all of that kind of tactile stuff, as well as the story and everything else and the characters that you come to love and that sort of subjective emotion. But I think, you know, what people don't talk about is like the power of comics to be just about anything that you want it to
Yeah.
be. And I mean, you know, yes, there are limitations. I happen to think the limitations are fairly artificial. I mean, you know, definitely it's a question of time and space. It's like how much time do you have to produce it, and how much
Yep.
space do you have on the page to lay it out. But you know, the comics have led the way into sort of imagining just the unimaginable in so many different ways. And the medium is so flexible and fluid that, you know, you can use it for educational purposes. You know, this is sort of more of the instrumental value of comics, right? The sort of what it can do, the stories it can tell, the narratives that you can spin out in comics in that sort of magical combination of words and pictures.
Yeah, I think
That,
you're right there. I think that
that's the
there's
magic.
in its own way, because it's its own thing. I think that the value is it can go from me holding a pen now to having a comic by the end of this podcast. I
Right.
think it's what sticks it up above a lot of other things, certainly movies and cartoons and stuff. But you know, that's the value of it. I can communicate a story, and I could have it to you by the end of this episode, and I think that's a real
Yeah.
big value in it.
Yeah, yeah. I think what people underestimate though is just how difficult it is to create that combination, you know? I mean, you can turn out a comic, it could be about your cat or your dog, but that doesn't mean like you've actually nailed the language or of
Yeah,
comics, the you know that the symbology and the sort of the artistic language of comics, right? That takes a little bit of work, I think, and I think that's part of the problem that maybe comics have, where that again referring back to that broken pipeline, where I know you and I, Tony, we were brought up on British weeklies. That was just
yeah,
the thing. That's where we cut our teeth. So we learned very early on, sort of in a very natural fashion, sort of how comics work in that sequential sort of on the page, you know, in the most basic form, which is kind of that, you know, it would be like the 9 panel grid in Beano with the one story on one page, get in, get out, you know, and there's a gag at the end, and how that can evolve into these incredibly complex narratives across several series, you know, and
Yeah.
go on forever if need be, and that sort of drama of it. I think people what's not happening now is why comics are sometimes a little bit inaccessible to people is because of the sort of the language of comics, how you have to learn to how to appreciate art in some ways by knowing sort of
oh yeah.
that
There's same as
interminable magical
there's you know there's
language.
terrible poets and there's amazing poets. There's
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know there's people who understand it and there's people who don't, and this goes for comics completely. And I don't
Yeah.
think people appreciate that enough. I
Yeah,
think Cliff.
I think
Yeah.
there's a big geographical component to this as well. So here's a question for you all: where in the world do you think comics, as a medium and just as an art form, are the most valued?
Europe, Definitely Europe, I think.
Yeah, France and
France,
Belgium.
yeah, and Belgium.
Over Japan?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because it's, I think, called the ninth art, isn't it? It's appreciated
Yeah,
as a
I
common
think
thing that everyone reads, but also it's appreciated for its
right.
quality.
I think Tony's right, and I think in Japan perhaps the difference is that it's just a mass-produced entertainment medium.
More of a business and industry. It's more of an
Yeah, I mean, it's people read it because it's sort of but I think if you're talking about appreciation of it, I think definitely France and Belgium, where they the creators are kind of given their due. But I think in Japan it's such a mass-produced medium that the individual creators don't necessarily matter as much as the fact that you're getting a book.
I mean, an example of that is when I was at Angoulême one year, Macron came down to see a Wally Wood exhibition.
Yeah,
That's
You know,
nuts.
it's like fucking hell. Really? Yeah,
That's
it's super appreciated.
Definitely in the US there is a zero appreciation. I think for there are a number of creators in the US. I think if they had been born in Europe, definitely in France, Belgium, and those areas, where there's a sort of hub of appreciation, they would be superstars, But in America, they're just toiling on the next kind of book, trying to get noticed. It's crazy. And in fact, one of my recommends is one of those guys who I think would have, had he been born in Europe, would be a superstar, megastar. But yeah,
I think there's a lot of certainly like books, possibly like from the US, certain titles. No matter what publisher they're with, they've got the opportunity to have a second life if they can get the right publishing deal within Europe. The Hunger and the Dusk, that's been published in France now. Is that where it's been
Porcelain was big.
yes, exactly.
Porcelain's big over there.
Yeah.
Well, I think about Vampire Requiem and Pat Mills. The fact that they in Angoulême, Tony, you told me the story about how they had a whole hall dedicated.
Yeah,
to
it's
that
just
book.
a basic exhibition. Yeah,
and over here, Pat Mills gets treated horribly. I just, it's
like Enrico Marini reaching through his entourage to shake my hand after at Angoulême, but like in the US, he's just sort of sitting at his table on his own in Europe Comics booth.
I think there's also like a consistency to like how the creators act as well. Because I mean, you say the word entourage there, Tony. Yeah. And whereas in my head, this is just the way I picture it: a dreamlike sequence. No, and there's Angoulême and this creator who, if they're in the States, they just wander around by themselves or whatever. But in Angoulême, they've got like a lot of people with them, but they're still jovial and they're still like, oh hi, they're making sure they're shaking your hand and things like that. But I get the feeling sometimes, maybe it's just me, but there's sometimes if creators possibly in the UK or in the States who have built up some sort of entourage, their ego can overtake it. Does that make sense?
I think it's case by case on that baby cakes.
Yeah, it is case by case, isn't it? But like sometimes you got to be careful that you don't start to like the smell of your own shit.
Yeah, hubris is always the enemy of any celebrity, right? So, I think we've all had those experiences where we might have run into somebody who is a celebrity and they just turned out to be just complete shits. And I'm not going to mention Bridlington Plategate or whatever it was.
To be fair, he wasn't a comic creator, but he was an EastEnders star, but the hubris of sort of a little bit of fame and what it can do to you, and I mean, I think some of the people who are like really up there in their game, I remember it's like when the Todd Fathers stopped to say hello to me and this dude at New York, and he had a couple of people who were helping him through the crowd, and he's like, no, he just had a chat, and the bloke I was with went, oh my god, there's two people in this world I really look up to, and fucking the Todd Father just looked at me and went, is he the other one?
Well,
yeah. Like, I mean, it's when we go to Heroes, Tony, we've been to Heroes and we look at like people who we in our minds are just fucking legendary, right?
Yeah.
Absolute legends. And they're sort of sitting there and they're sort of, and you're like, why?
Steve Englehart, man.
Yeah,
Jim
Pat
Starlin.
Broderick and people like that. Jim Starlin. I mean, Steranko still seems to be able to milk his own legend, by creating like
he's
these
milking something
barriers.
and it's in on his head.
Yeah, well, it's controlling him, Ratatouille like. Move the pen. But it's like it's sad to see because I mean, also in New York when like we were in that artists hall
Yeah,
and there was Art Adams and there was, Jay Lee and all of these people just sitting around and you could just walk up to them and have a chat. Right.
yeah,
I mean, they had their little sort of helpers, but we found ways around that.
yeah.
And
Even
it just,
even when Cliff was throwing a few lines into June Brigman
I
at
did.
Heroes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, June, be still my beating heart. June Briggs.
Still a looker.
Anyway, yes,
Yeah,
moving on from my
yeah.
tawdry
Nice.
fantasy life.
So let us know what you think the value of comics is, and in general, we're not talking about your vast collection and how much it's worth, which is probably
If
a
you
lot.
do decide to do that, include your address
Yeah, and
And when you're out,
And
yeah.
detailed breakdown of the most expensive ones.
and where they're kept.
yeah,
And where you put your key, yeah.
yeah. But I'm sure that the Awesome Comics Podcast Slack channel will be alive with further discussion about this. And if you're listening to this and you want to take part, there's a great community of people on there. Slack is basically like Teams. It's like if you haven't heard of it before, it's like a sort of forum-like app, isn't it? That's the best way to. Is it
Yes.
a messaging
Yep.
sort of thing?
It's
can
Netflix
have
for
it-
bulletin boards.
Ah, we did there. And the
Yeah.
ACP one has got loads of channels. It's a great community of people on there. So if you want to join us, let us know, and we'll send you the details and keep this conversation going. As for the rest of this show, that's got to keep going. So, do we have any shout-outs, gents?
I've got a few. So first up, incoming soon is Sunday the 7th is Bridlington Comic Con at Bridlington Spa. Loads of small pressers in attendance to that one. Me and Falp are going to be there from Tribute Press. Loads. Sean has a party. Jade Webster Sharp. There's loads of people at it. So if you are about in that area, pop in. If you're about the night before, then give us a shout because we'll probably be on the beer. There's a Jack Kirby exhibit as well at it. It should be cool.
Nice.
It was great seeing Hal Weaver today. I had a bit of lunch with Hal and a wander about in Central Lane. Went to Gosh as well, and he gave me the best. He's like blind Bigfoot will beat your ass
Yeah.
cover. He gave me a T-shirt of that. How cool is that?
Nice.
Nice.
You too can get a T-shirt like that by visiting his site. I've been contacted by some creators, and they've said follow the hashtag Cartoonists for Gaza. The first A in Gaza is the number 4. Cartoonists for FOR Gaza. It's on Insta, Twitter X, Facebook, TikTok, and Blue Sky. The use of art to cut through the noise about what is going on, and it includes by cartoonists such as some of our favourites: Rachel Ball, Trent Abel, who's the one who emailed in, Oscar Zarate, Roger Langridge, Bob Fingerman, Simon Russell, and a few more. One name I'll tell you about later. And so I was having an email backwards and forwards. And I said, "Quentin, what's a good charity? Do you think for this?" There's a lot of dis and misinformation, isn't there, about charities out there? And he has suggested Medical Aid for Palestine, which is a good charity. You can Google that, or the Red Cross. I think the Red Cross is a great one, isn't it? Because you're sending money to the right place for that one. Most definitely, it's going to go and help people. So go and do that one. I think that's it. That's all I've got. There you go.
Nice. Dan, what have you got?
First off, Gosh Comics. They've got a Goshfest. Takes place Saturday, 30th of August, from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. in store. There's a whole host of people that are going to be there. Go check out their Instagram page or their social media page, and they'll have a whole list of guests turning up. So do go check that one out. We've got Gabriel Cushing and the Curse of the Clockwork Werewolves Part 2. For a group of survivors find themselves trapped in the heart of a clockwork werewolf's lair, and the time is running short. Tick, tick, tick. That's my friends at Hellbound Media. That's got another couple of weeks to go, so go check that one out. Back that one. And finally, I don't know if you're following this account. The Fuck My Son.
The movie, yeah.
Because I'm following the account, I got recommended like a
Johnny
guy,
Craig comic.
Yeah, who it's kind of like got a rundown of the comic and what the film's about, and he was almost incredulous at the content of like how an old lady wants like a single mum to fuck her mutant son, and like and the comments in it were just like what the fuck is this? And I'm going to be going to see this film. And if you read the comic, I don't know how you're going to make this film, but I want to see it.
Yeah, I'm never
it
shocked by
literally
anything, but they came close with that. I've got to tell you.
Yeah, It does what it says on the tin. I mean, it's really like.
You remember that was me, Dan, me, and
Yeah.
Cliff, and Tom, wasn't it? Tom Curry. We met in
Yes.
a pub. Do you remember we went to that pub around the corner from Bidden Planet? And I've
Yes.
got a picture of you lot going, "What the fuck is
Yes.
this?"
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I've been following him on Instagram like forever now because
Oh,
it's
he's
just
nuts.
just
Yeah.
because just sometimes you have to follow the instigators, right?
Yeah. So can't wait for that. That's looking great. And finally, we've got Shane Chesney sent in a copy of Peter Hogan's Black
Oh, it's good,
Forests.
man. I just had a flick through
Yeah,
that.
it's really
Yeah.
good. I haven't had a chance to read it yet because it was only a couple of hours before we started recording it. But they're doing Scratch Comics is doing a signing with Glenn Fabry in
Wow.
Manchester, Travelling Man, Saturday the
Oh,
20th of September, 2 p.m. till 4 p.m. I'll mention that until we get closer to the date. So man, that's gonna be great because
Is
obviously he
that
does
who's the
run
writer on that? Is it Pete Hogan?
Yes, so I think Peter Hogan's doing all the stories, and they've got a
Right.
series of artists doing each tale.
Pete's a
One of
great
the
writer,
six.
Really good. Yeah. Yeah,
I
he
had a
should
scan
should
through
be
the book.
more
It
well
looks
known.
fucking great.
Yeah.
I kind of kicking myself that I didn't fucking back it, but I should be able to get a copy, or
I
maybe
don't
get
know
a
how I
copy of
missed
Travel
that.
Man.
Yeah, I don't know how I missed it.
No, it's so much stuff going on. It's really
Yeah.
hard to, to stay on top of it all. But lovely stuff. More good stuff from Scratch
Good.
Comics.
Nice. Speaking of
that's
lovely
me.
stuff, there's some lovely comics to talk about. Who would like to go first?
Should we guess first?
Yeah, why
sure.
not?
Yeah, sure. I do have a quick shout out though, and this one is just to the
Hmm.
whole ACP community who has been just so incredibly supportive, and you guys as well. Just everybody was checking in and making sure them okay,
Oh, that's good,
and
man.
that means a lot. I think it's that to actually have that community and everybody just cares for each other. I think is not to get too soppy on you fellas, but
Oh,
goodness,
good.
yeah, it
They-
was a source
They're
of
mostly good people, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah.
mostly good people. Yeah, mostly. Yeah. But yeah, the degree of support and just everybody was just it was just lovely.
Good stuff, man.
Really nice. So yeah, I appreciate that. Anyway, okay, on to my first recommend is a comic that comes out of Magma Comics. Magma. It's called, hold on, I've lost my notes. It's called The Principles of Necromancy. And if you've seen the cover, it's sort of an instant hook for me. It was just like, you talk about baiting the hook and having something that resonates. And I saw this cover because I was reading through Magma's The Pedestrian, and they had an ad for it in the back. And I got to that, and I immediately was like, I need to read this. This looks phenomenal.
Okay.
So it's got this sort of the art has this sort of Kevin O'Neill feel to it almost. It's like this Kevin O'Neill sort of horse head like skull figure sitting on top of a pile of barbarian bodies. Anyhow, so it's just drenched in red, and it's just this incredible iconic cover. It's about somebody called Dr. Jacob Eyes, who's sort of seeking the cure to death in a way, but the way that he goes about it just ends up sort of just just it just it just rams right into body horror, and just it's it's not for kids really, but just the body horror in this book just reminded me of, I don't know, some of the finest kind of Junji Ito and things like that, just where it goes. And the story was just so cool. It's just sort of I don't want to describe too much about it, but it's a 4 issue series. You could just read the first one. It stands on its own very well as its own little piece. But it is about kind of like extreme medical science in this sort of medieval barbarian swords and sorcery age, and this guy who's also completely mad. But it has that sort of visceral mix of fantasy and horror that makes you kind of recoil almost, but you keep turning the page because it just drives forward. It was sort of resonant for me, I guess, a little bit of Gormenghast, the entire series. I don't know if you
Okay.
ever read
Okay.
that by Mervyn
Yeah.
Peake. It had that feel. It also reminded me of a sort of an early, if you ever read A1 back in the day, there was a story in there called Quinn, which was a short piece in the A1 anthology by Simon Bisley and a writer called Paul Bearer about that sort of quest for immortality and this swords and sorcery thing. It kind of reminded me of that a little bit. Um, Not a good reference if you've never read A1. But
That's
it's written
fine.
by Jackson Lanzing, Colin Kelly, and the art the art, which is what sold it for me, is by Eamon Winkle. I think that's his real name. He's definitely now like on my to watch list. I'm going to look for this guy
Cool.
to find some of his other stuff. The colors were by Jay Fotis, letters by Sean Lee. It's absolutely worth your time, even if you just want to read the first issue. But all four are fantastic. They're just this nice self-contained tale, beginning to end. Each one is just lovely. It's my kind of stuff.
Nice. Wow, that's a strong start, Tony.
Oh, yeah. So my first one is Space Opera Xanadax. It's a long title for this one. Space Opera Xanadax Across the Unknown Dimensions of the Galaxy by Tom Scioli. Published by Image Comics, actually, this one. So it's a bit unusual for me to do an Image Comics one. But this really does feel like something that could easily have come out of Strangers or Bubbles or even Fantagraphics, maybe. It's got that feel to it. Have you guys read much Scioli?
A little bit
don't
here and
think
there.
so.
I'm almost more aware of the man's work and how
It's a
popular
familiar
it is.
name, yeah, but
Yeah.
I can't say.
He did. Did GoBots? Did he do something?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did that, and he did Transformers versus G.I. Joe, which is
That
the one I
was it,
thought
yeah.
you guys might have read.
Yeah, that's the one I've heard of. Yeah.
Quite well known for his appearances on Cartoonist Kayfabe, and he does his own YouTube with a Matt Scioli called the Total Recall Show. He's, as I say, you got Transformers versus G.I. Joe, and you've also got I Am Stan, the biography, which came out I think last year, which I think did quite well. So I've been on him since Godland, which is a fucking great series, and also then American Barbarian, which came out a little while back as well. The cover to this, it's playing on that science fiction novel trope of the things that happen on the cover may not necessarily happen in the book. But it's certainly it looks like Tom Scioli doing a late 70s to early 90s science fiction novel cover of robots attacking a man, sort of thing. Nice, liked it a lot. It's a full run, it's one story, it's over 100 pages. It's a backup I'll talk about in a minute. So it's $19.99. I did a little scan about to see the prices you'll pay for it. If you go to it's $17.99. Forbidden Planet currently probably is the cheapest at £12.41 if you want to order it from there. And Amazon, the dreaded Amazon, it's £13.15. Couldn't find it on the OK Comics site at the moment, so I'm not sure if they maybe haven't, because it's only just come out. They haven't listed it. The story is it's a funny one. It's complicated in that there's various threads, some of which tie in together by the time you get to the end of it. But uncomplicated by the fact that they are recognisable tropes in a way by someone who knows about comics. You've got the titular Xanadax. He's kind of a cyborg human, and he's at war with his brother, who's the sort of evil version of him, who's the leader of a dark robot empire. And Xanadax has been augmented, part cyborg, part Wolverine, because he's got like these 4 cosmic claws that come out of his hands. So this is done with a wink, this book. It's done with a sense of humour as well. There's something about it that Scioli does. Then you've got the mighty, I'll have to be careful saying it, Vokonikov. Yeah, and he's a sort of monstrously powerful beast of a humanoid, bent on death and becoming the ruler of whatever world he's on. And he's one of those ones that's kept in a special cage, and they have to trick him back into another cage. And at one point, he comes up against Xanadax. You've got separate to that, you've got a sexy bikini wearing, domino mask wearing space pirate and her masked companion who go about stealing and getting caught and then being made to steal again. And so you can see there's this, it's tropey. Does that make sense?
Okay.
When I say sort of tropey, it's kind of, they're recognizable in a way, the stories, but they're done with Scioli's style and that Kirby tinge style of his that makes them very fun and very attractive. Then there's like massive robot arachnids and spaceship battles, and it's just glorious to read. And I don't think you're going to spend a lot of time on each page. It's a quick read. There is a part of, I can see some, somebody with their nose in the air writing for the Observer or something saying this is all style over content, but that's the point of it. That's the point. He's playing with this stuff that we recognize as comics, but he's doing it with the Scioli tinge to it, which I really like. It in many ways it's sort of pop opera Kirby in a way. If Kirby did Underground, there's a very cool thing, storytelling that goes above and beyond what you might try and do with a sort of deep thought content, and you just sort of drink in these cool things really. But it's done with very broad brushstrokes. What I found really interesting is the way he uses shortcuts for fighting. Now, I think we all know this, that the action takes place in the panel board between panels, doesn't it? When you're going to punch someone, the actual movement of the arm, it takes place in our imagination, in our brains. And I think he knows this. He knows how this works, and he strips that back completely. So your imagination is doing a lot of the work. I've sent through some screenshots because there's this massive kickoff fight in the middle of it, and it goes from panel to just page this is happening, page this has happened, page this has happened, and he really does know what he's doing in it, and I really like that, in that sort of broad strokes pulpy feel, and laid over the top of it you've got this overlay of this broad space opera thing going on. Again, some people might say it's underdrawn. I think it's just perfect. I think in the world of cartooning, he's talk. If you ever hear Tom talk about comics, he knows, he gets it, and you see him talk about a Ditko comic or talk. He knows what he's talking about. It's really well done. There's some take a drink, Johnny Cannon. There's some Alex Toth in it. There's some Wally Wood in it. There's some Beanie Metal Hurlant in it. There's some 70s French Japanese monster kind of vibes to it as well, which is only punctuated by the fact that his last comic was the Godzilla Sherlock Holmes thing that was just genius, just a mess of different characters thrown into the pot, and it's just a beautiful experience. I think a lot of the people on the Slack enjoyed it. And then you also get a backup story, which is something he's done before, but he really wanted to include it, and he says in his little paragraph before it, he says that I'm really fond of this and I really wanted you to see it. And it's called, get this title, Princess, the Space Princess from Outer Space. That's the title, isn't it? Much and very different, much more EC Wallywood, this one for me, with a little bit of J-Bone and Darwin Cook thrown in to mix somewhere there. More rendered.
It reminds me of Zach Cahill's work, Tony, a little bit,
Yeah, mate, totally.
Line, right?
Yeah, I should have said that. Yeah, totally get that original story. The Xanadax one is totally up his street. And in fact, I think when I posted it, he said he hasn't got it yet, but he's waiting for it, sort of thing. Massive, totally. The princess, the space princess from outer space. So makes me laugh. Is much more rendered. There's more detail in each page on that one. It's almost, you can tell the different periods of him drawing stuff. Really, I can tell it's from a little bit before the current style that he's got. But again, lovely design. It's got that manga big-eyed space warrior princess kind of thing going on. Not exactly manga, but you can see a more of an influence in that one there. But yeah, absolutely brilliant. Go and try and find it. It's in all good comic shops at the moment. As I say, it's available from a lot of sites. Space Opera Xanadax Across the Unknown Dimensions of the Galaxy. Doesn't do it justice, but that's a hell of a title. There you go.
Nice. Dan, what have you got?
I've got a comic called Nyaegling, which is I was on Reddit and some were asking about where can they send their comics in for people to have a look and review them, and I mentioned a crappy podcast that I do. That you listen to now.
Which one is that?
And so this title got sent in by Bex Ollerton and Richard Bass, and I read it for during the week. I've got to say, when it first came in, I was like, I'm not sure if this book is kind of for me based on just the art style alone. But as with most of the times, I end up with egg in my face because I've read it and I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I thought the same, man, and I think I agree with you there. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So it's easy to kind of look at the art style and think, oh, this is going to be like X, Y, or Z. But when I read it, I was like, there's depth to this. There's a lot to it. And it was more for me for writing it off. So the synopsis goes, when Tabitha is freed from her captors by her best friend Nix, she convinces them to turn their rescue mission into a quest for revenge. As they journey through Lamorna to retrieve Tabitha's stolen sword, their friendship is pushed to the limit and cracks in their teamwork start to show. Is the cost of retrieving Nyaegling too great? And again, it's a beautiful fantasy adventure story of what can happen to a friendship when ambition and selfishness take precedent over well-being. So 74 pages, full color, A4 size, A5 size. Apologies. So this kind of comic, it starts essentially in the middle of a story. It feels like you've been thrown into a tale that's already been told, and you're seeing a section of it. But it's really well done as like you're in a couple of pages. Like, I'm invested in these characters, what they're going to start off and doing. And with the main character Tabitha, she starts off in a prison cell being rescued, and rather than we're going to escape, she's like, no, I'm going to get back my family sword. And the interplay between the two characters, where the more reserved Nick's character wants to kind of stop her kind of being so headstrong, they really play well together. It's one of these comics I thought you could change the art, no disrespect to the art style, but this could be retold in like many different forms, because the interplay between the characters would do so well. As I think this story's kind of aimed at more elder children, teens. Would you say, Tony?
Yeah, I get that, man. Yeah,
there's some darker moments in it. Like there's deaths throughout. People are killed. It's anthropomorphic, so they're kind of all cat, mouse kind of looking. But what was the name of that RPG, Vince? Was it Root?
Yeah, Root.
Root. It very much reminds me of that, where you kind of get this medieval like setting, but the setting's deadly serious, but all the characters look like cutesy kind of animals.
Yeah.
And I had a blast reading it, and by the time of the end of it, I was like, oh, I want to know where this goes. I was so on board with it. I really enjoyed it. You can go and get your own copy of this. It's on Etsy.com. I'll have to stick in the link. But if you do a search for the title, which we're going to have to put in the show notes because I don't want to say it out again. But it's Nyaegling.
Yeah.
Do that and comic, and you'll be able to pop up and where you can get it. I think you can get it both in print and digital. But I was very impressed. Really enjoyed this comic.
Yeah, nice. I need to get around to read this one. It does look really great, actually. And it's in the show notes now. So
excellent.
Go to Podbean. Go to awesomecomics.podbean.com and find it that way. My recommend this week is a book by Tyler Crook, who is, I've mentioned him quite a few times on this podcast. Certainly in 2025, I think he's probably my artist of the year. But I just kind of,
who published this, Vince?
This was Dark Horse, and this is his series, The Lonesome Hunters, which is script, art, and lettering all by him. This is all a one-man band doing this one. And I'm initially going to be talking about the first book, which is Lonesome Hunters 1-4. There is another series called The Wolf Child, which is another 4 issues, that I devoured this weekend as well. And I'll briefly touch on that one. But The Lonesome Hunters itself is about an old and out-of-practice monster hunter in hiding crosses paths with a young girl that forces him to confront these chaotic creatures. As the beasts invade their tenement, they set off on a supernatural road trip to stop these ancient evils in a story that explores the way that youth informs adulthood and how early traumas can haunt us in old age. I just went in for Tyler Crook, and the cover sort of caught me. But what I found, and it's always interesting when there's an artist you like, isn't there, and then they decide they're taking on all the duties. Sometimes it works, other times you can tell, this artist doesn't normally script, do they? Do you know what I mean? You know, when you have those sort of like, this is someone who's not used to writing as such. There was no problem with this. I mean, I know Tyler's worked with quite a few fantastic writers over his career, but I sort of hit the ground running with the Lonesome Hunters. And there's when you say an old monster hunter, you immediately think of some, as much as we like them, you know, this grizzled, scarred veteran, you know, that's just retired. This is a little old man, basically, called I think he's Howard Abraham. Howard Abraham. And the book starts with how he became this Monster Hunter with seemingly he's been gifted sort of longer life because of this magical sword that he has, and this sword, which is basically it's wonderfully designed, just looks like a block. There's no fancy hilt or anything. It's just like this big relic type sword. But by having it, he has been gifted like a longer life, and he's supposed to be hunt monsters and this, that, and the other. But when we catch up to him, you kind of get the hints that that's not necessarily what he's been doing. He's been basically hiding. And what happened to him in his youth, the traumas of the past have got up to him. His father wasn't exactly a great guy, which you see in the beginning scene. And while he's in this apartment block, there's a young girl there, Guadalupe, or Lupe, as you come to know her in the book. She's going through her own issues, and the two sort of meet up, and it's almost like even though they're on opposite ends of the generational sort of spectrum, they have common souls, if that makes sense. It's almost like they get each other immediately, and there's no snark between any of the characters. And something that she's got this old pocket watch, which then ties into these magpies. Who are there? This is more of a folkloric monsters. We're not talking werewolves and vampires and all this stuff. Think more the weird stuff that's in the woods, and witches and folklore. I mean, anyone who's read Harrow County knows that sort of stuff is right up Tyler's in his wheelhouse. And this is more the same. But what caught me about this, the action's fantastic. The art is absolutely gorgeous. I've talked many times about how beautiful his art is. These pages immediately within he does a double page spread in the first issue, which is just an old man walking along a street heading back to his apartment. It's a double page sort of splash page, and it's beautiful because of the ink washes and the colours, and immediately it feels very pulpy because Howard dresses in like an old man. He's slightly hunched over. He looks like an old gumshoe in his own kind of way, and he's softly spoken, and he almost feels like a child that was aged too quickly. There's a lot about these characters that I want to learn more about, and I think that's what affected me about this book and the series, of why I'm going to keep going with it. And it's as soon as the third series comes out, I'm immediately going to be in from the start now, because you get to know these two main protagonists and you're involved in their story. There's no over the top action. There's no kicking down doors and firing guns. It's very much people out of their depth and also trying to do the right thing. And away from that, they're being chased. There's very much a religious cult-like organisation who want to find Howard because he's supposed to be working for them, and he just disappeared. He went off the radar. And of course, you've got the strange monsters, as well as another creature in it that maybe the sword belongs to, which is something that over the first two series that you're seeing more of that character, just little bits here and there. Love the writing. It's the sort of thing that I probably at certain points I'll get quite emotional. It is about loss and trauma, and there was some deft storytelling in this, I would say, that I didn't expect. And the only thing I would say, I devoured the first. It's only 4 issues, the first volume. I devoured that pretty quickly. And this weekend, I decided to buy the second series on Comixology as individual issues, purely to save money because I'm a cheapskate bastard. Because the price of the digital issues were actually cheaper than buying the trade. But that's all right. I think I'm going to double dip and get the collected editions of this, because I think there'll be some artwork in the back. And the second series which I really, really enjoyed. The Wolf Child. It kind of feels like an ongoing series, and in reading about it, it does seem like Tyler's planned like 24 to 32 issues that will be made up of arcs. I guess when he's not going off and doing books like out of Alcatraz and things like that. But it feels like an ongoing, but it's not being released like an ongoing. So the second volume isn't something that I'd necessarily say start at the beginning with this, because it's the second volume starts and you kind of already know the characters. I think that's probably something that happens with a lot of sort of independent sort of storytelling like this. But just bear that in mind. Don't start with the Wolf Child. Start with the Lonesome Hunters. But if you start there, you're going to be in it. I think I was really taken by it. I love the characters. I love the book. And the only problem is now that I'm all caught up, I've got to wait for the third volume, whenever that is. So we'll see. So the Lonesome Hunters from Dark Horse, you can pick it up the collected trade from wherever you want, or on digital. The individual issues are only going for about like £1.50, less than that. So Dark Horse are quite good like that, dropping their prices on older issues sometimes. So that's my one. Who's jumping in next? We've got a couple more, haven't we, before we sign off?
Is it Cliff?
Yes.
Cliff, you next?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I can definitely jump in. I just, harking back to earlier in our discussion, one of my recommendations is a book called Spectrum. It's written by Rick Quinn, and the art.
Is it about the computer?
I think it might actually hint towards the fact that ZX Spectrum is in the story at some point.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
And I think by Spectrum, I'm not entirely sure. I'm sort of a couple of issues in, but I'm not entirely sure that it's to do with the spectrum, the autism spectrum, as much as it is to do with sort of a spectrum of color, spectrum of music. And that sort of thing. And anyway, as we discussed, as I was saying, illustrative of how comics can be just about anything and even exceed the limitations of the form. This is one of those comic books that for me does that. And it also speaks to my eclectic taste. So I'm going from body horror to kind of a much more sort of ephemeral, surreal story. How Dave Chisholm is not a comics megastar, I don't know, because his art on this book is incredible. The coloring on it is just remarkable. It's all very bright colors. It's not like your sort of pale, sort of gritty stuff. It's all very bright. It deals in that sort of dreamscape world that we were talking about, but in terms of, I think, kind of one of the central characters to this is sort of initially portrayed as being mentally ill and living on the streets, but then sort of almost sort of Grant Morrison like moves into this sort of arena of you can't quite tell whether it's imagined or it's real. And I don't think that necessarily matters, but then that story goes into kind of this marvelous sort of fantastic sort of surreal world that she lives in. Now, the reason why I love this and why I love this particular book is because Chisholm is one of these guys who is just multi-fucking talented. It drives me nuts, okay? I mean, not only is he a really talented artist, but he's also got like a PhD in music, and he plays several musical instruments. So, music has been a theme through a lot of his books, and I sort of became aware of him almost embarrassingly. I saw it. He was on TikTok, and then I bought his book. He did a biography of Miles Davis, which was wonderful. And I got him to
I
sign
haven't
it
read
when
that.
we were at
Is that
Heroes.
good? Yeah.
It is very good. It is
I'll
very
get that
good.
now. Yeah.
Now, the real beauty of this book is, it puts a lie to the fact that you can't do anything in comics, because central to, I think, all of Chisholm's work, and especially this particular work, is the importance of music. Now, how do you, in comic books, convey music in an effective way, right? It's a silent medium.
Yeah.
And it's okay. So, I mean, I know, Dan, you being an artist, and Vince also being an artist, you're probably like thinking like, well, how do you portray music? It's not just musical notes, right?
No.
That's sort of the shorthand, kind of cheap and effective way of doing it. The way Chisholm uses color to depict tonal nuance in music is just, honestly, it's mind blowing. So from my perspective, as somebody who's struggling to sort of, get better every day as an artist, I see his work and how he depicts music in color and form and tone. It's brilliant. He has a very painterly approach to it, but it's also very grounded in kind of comics and his use of extreme perspectives and things like that as a kind of a backdrop to different kind of frames and panels. And the sheer design work that went into this book is just it's beautiful. So I highly recommend if you kind of want to study somebody who's sort of who's deep into the craft, right? Then this is definitely one that you will pick up. I have to say I picked it up more for the art than I did the story. I started
Okay.
reading it. I had that sort of wicked and divine feel where I'm like, I'm not quite sure what's going on, and I think that's on me more than it is on the storyteller. It's one of those books I think you kind of have to go back to a couple of times and read it through to really sort of understand it as a whole. Right at the moment, I'm on like issue 3 or 4, so I'm kind of like I sort of think I understand what's going on, but it's one of those things that unravels the mystery of the whatever the premise of the book is quite slowly. But I mean, the art is so compelling; it just holds you. I mean, there is a lyricism to the story, certainly, but you know, it's Chisholm's art. He's definitely on my list again of people to watch and sort of okay, this guy's a talent. This is somebody who you can learn from. Also disgustingly talented and young, which I absolutely hate. So it's ambitious, it's surreal, it's kind of a mind bender. You know, there's a couple of protagonists in it who there's something is tied to a mystery in their past, but also sort of musically, it's a sort of almost an alternative history of music in some ways. You know, it's there's like an Elvis Presley type in there, and it talks about kind of this history in a very sort of it's very organized way, but it's like an alternative 20th century songs, you know, scenes and subcultures, and they sort of have this literal power within this universe, and it's also kind of a memory thriller. I got that sort of Memento feel. It's not like that sort of aphasic kind of short-term memory thing, but you know that how sometimes our memory can mislead us or be, you know,
Yeah.
how we
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
things. But the portrayal of it is so brilliantly done, I think, visually. It's just lovely just to open up the book and see a book that is just bright and colorful. It's not dark or anything like that, but the illustrations in it are. I mean, I will come back, I think, to this particular book and be looking at things and wondering out loud, you know, how did he do that? So that is that's Spectrum, and that's a Mad Cave book. So it's another,
Right.
you know,
Okay.
they've been doing some good stuff.
I
Them and
missed this. I must go back and have a look at this. I think I missed it.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely worth picking up, and it is on Global Comics if you wanted to read it. It's
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
Not that
definitely
they
worth
sponsor
clicking.
us, but yeah, available.
Nice.
Well, yes, no, but I mean, you know, if you wanted to sort of legally procure a copy, that is probably the best place to go.
Nice.
We're all about the legal here.
Yeah. Who's next?
Bad boys.
I've got one.
Go on.
Go on, Danny B.
Well, two. Go to yurizoku.com, yureizoku.com, to read the webcomics by Gabe Ostley. What does Yurizoku mean? I don't know. There's a sort of a ghost flying in the logo. I'm assuming it means something, but I don't know what that is. There's 5 titles here. I've read 2 of them, and I thought they were absolutely fucking ace. You got Kronan, a wordless sword singing comic one shot from 2019, which is a bit of a nod to Conan. But Gabe Ostley's
Really?
drawing styles,
Yeah.
yeah,
More than not, it's
you
like a
never guess it.
fucking massive billboard.
Yeah. It's just huge, massive dudes whacking each other with swords and monsters and stuff.
Oh, thank
Wonder
God
where we
it's-
were going with that
yeah,
for a
I wonder
second.
where that was
Yeah,
going.
and the one which I
I'm
like,
okay
Blam
with it. I
Nelson.
just want to say I'm all right with it. That's okay.
Yeah, fine with it. We are fine with it.
Blam Nelson, which is there's a bit more substance to Blam Nelson. Issue 1, Chapter 1, the $7 billion man, where Blam Nelson, in this kind of nightmarish future, suffers an accident flying his spaceship and is rebuilt as a sort of man-stroke Terminator, as like the $6 million man. There's a kind of a satire and dark humor throughout this comic, where he goes off fighting monsters and the bad guys with this kind of like really violent, sketchy style that's very aggressive. He's got an Armani suit which self repairs and can pull out any gun or weapon from it that he so desires. and he's off on this quest, and it just fucking goes nuts. It's a real fun. It just feels like someone making a comic on the hoof and just putting as much strange, weird, and great stuff in it as they possibly can. Have you seen that meme where it's like, all those things you thought were cool when you were 12, like heavy metal, boobs, and violence? They were still cool
there,
now.
mate. Still there.
Yeah, and that ethos runs strong through this comic. So go check it out. If yureizoku.com, yureizoku.com.
Nice.
And you got 5 free comics to read. Go for it.
Nice.
That's what, man.
Okay.
That is, I visited that site as well after you sent it to us earlier. It's good. Yeah. It's great.
Tony, what else have you got?
So have you got one more, V?
No.
Okay, so we can book in with this because I think a couple of us read it, didn't we? This is the new book from Alien Books. It's Exo Manowar issue 1, the reboot, the restart, what we want to call it. I think it's out next month. I'm going to say, written by Steve Orlando, who's he's got a solid writing history in my book. Art by Guillermo Fajardo. Color, here we go. Colors Latora Fatuli and Ludwig Olimba. That is a brilliant name. I wish I was called Ludwig Olimba. That is fucking cool. Letters by Ezequiel Inverni. Editors Lisa Hawkins and Clara Bartolozzi. There you go. And it's definitely a new start for Eric of Dacia. Everyone here read Exo at some point?
Yes. Yeah, multiple versions of, yes.
Yeah.
I am not as familiar with it as you, Tony. So
okay.
Contextually, this was a fun story. I really enjoyed reading it.
Yeah, man.
Oh, good.
I was like, oh wait, is this a future thing? Is this? I mean,
it's hard to tell, isn't it? Yeah. It's in short brushstrokes. It's Conan in Iron Man armor, Alien Iron Man armor, basically.
Yes. It's got a Mad Max feel to it as well. Right?
This one really does have that. So previous stories have put him in all different places. He was in Brooklyn in one. He was in, in the far future in another. He was in a super team in another over the last sort of 15 years. This one puts him squarely in. I'm going to say, someone has said, let's do Exo with a Fist of the North Star vibe to it. It kind of feels like that way. What do you think, Dan? You're more into that.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of like you got the Warrior of the Wasteland kind of thing. Yeah. And sort of might makes right. And he's standing up for the people who are kind of being crushed down by the wastrels of the wasteland.
Yeah, you've got that vibe, haven't you? Yeah. It opens with a family, or it opens actually with him. He's trying to get some sleep, and he's a troubled man. He's a troubled warrior. Even a man with his like fucking forthright, just his personality is part of his strength.
He's fucking massive in this.
Yeah, he's massive
as a character.
Yeah, he is.
He's got like a chest which is like as big as his waist, and then that again.
Yeah, yeah, and that's when he comes up against the guy later. I'll mention that at the end because that gave me Fist of the North Star vibes as well.
Yeah,
almost manga vibes. I mean, it's drawn in a very traditional, valiant way. Really, it's got that big fucking geezers punching shit out of each other kind of vibe to it, but with an American style tip, European style tip to it. I really did like the art in this. I have to say, I think it worked really well. I think it's probably my favourite one that they've brought out so far that we've had a little peek at.
Oh, it's lovely.
Yeah, and he's suffering sleepless nights and thinking about his wife, who we think you get the impression has died and passed away and stuff. And he comes across a bunch of, they may as well be mutants of the wasteland, aren't they? They may as well be that sort of Italian Mad Max ripoff kind of vibe to them, and they're harassing a family that's trying to make their way to a safe space which they've heard about. And he initially breaks up the fight in the armor. And then he thinks, because he's got this honor thing going on, he takes off the armor and just destroys them physically.
That was
by
the
just fighting them.
The best fight scene in a long time.
Elbows are flying and blood's flying and
sticks the fucking Glasgow kiss on one of them.
yeah, he does, doesn't he? Yeah, and from that he sort of takes off with them, and that's the start of the story. And they come across what they think is this safe space, and he meets this dude, and it's similar to that old samurai story about two men stare at each other over a river on a bridge. It's almost like that. They're staring each other down. They're giving it large, but they don't come to blows because they realise they're both on the same side. It's got that. Pardon me. And it goes off from there, leads into something, a cliffhanger for issue 2 rather, and onwards. And it's just fucking beat 'em up old school Valiant fun. This is where they should be going with it. This reminds me of the previous period when it was good. I think it's got real possibilities in this wasteland with Arik and this family and this safe space and this sort of cyborg dude who's turned up who may or may not be competition or may actually be his brother, in arms. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. What about you guys? What did you think?
Loved it, man. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's good. I think you felt the same way, Cliff. Yeah.
Yeah,
Talk
I
about dream
did.
sequences. We got that in
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
there
true.
was actually well used in this one as well. But it reminded me of Trevor Hairsine, that kind of art. Just
Yeah, man,
yeah, you know
totally.
that sort of
Yeah,
like very sort of energetic. The lines have a lot of sort of energy and just yeah, I couldn't fault it. It was a great quick read. It's interesting because it actually made me want to learn more about the character because I don't know anything about Exo
there's some.
Manowar.
I'll direct you. I think Vince, you got a hardback of one of these.
Yes,
Is that right?
yes.
It's nearer to that than it is to perhaps some of the more sort of earthbound stories that we've seen
Yeah.
Really?
previously. Yeah, and art wise, more similar to that storyline.
You,
But yeah, no,
you could
it's
come in
worth it.
completely cold on this, couldn't you? You don't really need to know
Massively.
anything.
You don't need to know
Yeah.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it comes across really well. It's just sort of it doesn't overwhelm you with a whole bunch of like backstory or context or
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
You know what this guy's all about within the first few pages.
And there's kind
Quick
of the
question.
beauty of Exo because he is just this fucking force of nature, this brutality with or without the armor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's willing to get out of the armor and not fight in it, which would be to his detriment.
Yeah,
Well,
but it's too easy a win, isn't it? In the armor.
Yes.
Yeah.
We need more Warriors of the Wasteland stuff. Honestly,
Oh,
we gotta
love
get
it.
back
Yeah.
to that. I think it's an untapped genre we need to revisit.
Yeah.
This was ringing. He kind of they have a few beers with each other. Those two fellas. Does he just fall asleep outside, or does
Yeah,
they
He's
leave him
back to the
alone?
Wasteland, doesn't he? I thought he was
Yeah.
like have to go
They
back.
they kind of they bookend that, don't they, with the start where he's just sleeping by a rock.
Oh, so he
think- I
just
think
goes
he-
out on his own and just like falls
I think
asleep.
so.
thought, is he falling asleep in the camp and then they've just like left him for all these people to come and grab?
Don't know. I got the impression he just found his own space and went to sleep, kind of thing.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought he said something about having to go back into the Wasteland because of his honor and his duty to his wife or something. I think it was a very quick
Okay.
comment, so yeah, but yeah, I can I was a little confused as well about that, but it wasn't. Yeah, it didn't derail the story for me in any great.
And what's
Agreed.
the good thing about when you do the wasteland stories, the bad guys can be absolute fucking shits. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
they're the dregs of humanity that are left, and the only reason they're left is because they've done more horrible shit than the other people that haven't, and that's the
Yeah.
reason they
Right.
survived.
Yeah.
Yeah. They can be
so
the
when they
worst.
get
You're
their
right. They're the
comeuppance-
worst mutants.
Yeah.
I think I do love that genre, that Italian genre of movies that came out after Mad Max 2. There's
That was
some
the feel. That was the feel.
Yeah.
It really had that. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, cool. There you go, guys. There's a good
Nice.
selection there, isn't there?
Yeah.
Fantastic selection of comics for our lovely listeners to add to their wish lists or buy now. Buy them all now. Find them now. Read them now. Read them all. You comics loving bastards. And because you love comics as much as we do, it's that time of the evening. And
Man, fucking 9 o'clock come and went. There was no dick jokes. This
No.
is outrageous.
Oh, yeah.
I know. We missed out on
Day
the
off
D.
tomorrow, innit? So
Yeah.
Cock
got
that one
time.
up.
Yeah. But join us next week, because there'll probably be even more pure humour. But as always, fantastic comic book chat. We
It
hope
was a salt shaker joke. You did do
Yeah.
that.
yeah,
true,
we
true.
get that one. Yeah,
Yeah.
It wasn't a
Slipped
joke.
it in early.
It's true.
You got some in your eye. If you like this episode and everything we talked about, or you've got possible comics you want us to check out, or fun charity things you want us to check out, or perhaps tell us about a local comic shop that you think needs some more love. We will,
Yeah.
of course, shout them out. And there's several different ways you can get in touch with us. You can email us awesomecomicspod@gmail.com. Follow us on social media at the Awesome Comics Pod. No, at Awesome Comics Pod on Insta, not the Awesome. Fucking get it right, Vince. At the Awesome Pod on X. Follow us on the website awesomecomics.podbean.com. I've got it written down. I'm still fucking it up left, right, and centre.
Push through.
Yeah, but I'm just pushing through. And you should push through to Apple and check us out there. And if you have, then leave a review and say something nice. Much like Spotify, Amazon, Stitcher, Podnose, Podknife. What are the networks are you on, Tony?
We're on the network. Riding a motorbike naked whilst publicly fingering yourself is not art.
I would disagree.
I mean, it's quite a lot to type into URL, so just look for links.
Fingering yourself on a motorbike.
So much there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't endorse that website.
I do.
I do.
Yeah.
Star on it.
Yeah.
Tribute Press thoroughly endorse that website.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, you keep
Press
that.
guarantee.
Yeah. You keep that over there. Speaking of over there, where can people find us, etc.? Cliff.
Oh, I don't know. Anywhere really.
Instagram.
Longbox.
The men's lavatories of an evening. Oh yes, yeah. You can find me at the Longbox at substack.com, and I mostly hang about on the ACP forum. So come by.
Yay.
Yeah.
Don't
Nice.
you occasionally write a column, Cliff?
I do occasionally
It's
write a
Longbox.
column, but unfortunately UK readers can't read it because of whatever it is that you do here.
VPN. Everyone's got VPNs now, Cliff.
VPN.
Do they really?
VPN's killing children. Yeah.
You can't
I
have a
had to
cheeky
take a
target
picture
if you
of
ain't got a
myself the
VPN.
other day.
Pardon, Dan?
I had to take a picture of myself
What?
No,
for
VPNs.
the verification. You know.
Yeah.
But he did.
Yeah, of course.
No
That
reason.
looks a bit sore.
Yeah.
It is a bit.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Tony, where can I find you?
Neveronanything.com or Tony Ez EZ on Substack.
Dan, what about you?
You can find me on Twitter at Vanguard Comic, and you can read Vanguard at vanguardcomic.com.
Nice. You can find me on social media at Jester Diablo. Thank you very much for listening, folks. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode and all the comics we talked
Looks
about.
like a field grape.
I mean, amazingly, he will be invited back, Cliff, at some point. But
Not for a while.
no, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. He's used up a lot of his minutes already. But from everyone here at the ACP, thank you very much for listening. Keep reading comics, keep making comics, and keep enjoying comics. No matter what anyone says, if you're enjoying and reading them, fuck everyone else. Because comics are awesome. Not like that, Tony.
Be tired if you did.
And from everyone here at the ACP, what should they do, guys?
Stay awesome.
Stay awesome.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Field grape.
Bye.